What's going on, fantasy football owners? You have come to the tight end preview portion of the 2012 Fantasy Football Stock Report. This position has really kind of grown in recent years. The tight end really, in a CBS league, you only start one tight end a week in your league, and then you can have however many on your bench as you want. Usually you have one just to fill in for that bye week purpose. But it's really grown recently because a lot of quarterbacks now are throwing more to the tight ends and utilizing them more in their systems, as we've seen in New England, New Orleans, with top guys like Gronk and Jimmy Graham, who I got this year in round 2. So the tight end position really is kind of growing into its own, becoming more important for fantasy success. So here I'm going to share with you some guys I think will be poised to have a breakout year this year, and some guys I want to kind of stay away from a little bit, kind of falling down things in the draft boards, and some guys just want to avoid altogether. The first guy I like, and again, here I'm sounding biased. No, I didn't draft guy on a fantasy team, but I'm drafted because he's a Lion, fellow Detroit Lion guy. But I like Brandon Pettigrew. SI kind of has him as a tier 2 kind of guy. I have him as kind of a low 1, high 2 with major upside. Pettigrew's yardage totals, we can't ignore this. They've gone up the past 2 seasons when he's been in Detroit. And granted, that helps with Matthew Stafford throwing to him, and that Stafford's gotten so much better over the years. But the yardage totals have gone up, and the team has to find more weapons behind Megatron and Calvin Johnson. There's there has to be other options. He's probably going to get double covered in games. If they play the Jets, he's going to be on Revis Island. It's going to be, sometimes you can't get the ball to Calvin every time. So that gives openings for guys like Titus Young, who I mentioned in my wide receiver video, Nate Burleson, and yes, even Pettigrew here. If he gets enough targets from Stafford, if Stafford keeps relying on him and throwing the ball, especially in the red zone, he could border on elite status. And I know that's maybe a stretch, but he's certainly going to be there. So if you do miss out on an elite guy like Gronk or Jimmy Graham, Pettigrew isn't really a bad choice to fall back on for you. I think he's a rock solid number 2 guy, but there's certain number 1 potential there if Matthew Stafford continues to throw the ball Brandon Pettigrew's way. And certainly with that revamped Detroit offense, they've done that a lot. Look for Pettigrew to certainly be on the rise again this season. Another guy that I like, again, maybe another guy that's kind of bordering on number 1 status, but certainly a rock solid number 2, is Jermaine Gresham in Cincinnati. I mentioned Andy Dalton in my quarterback preview, and I got him to be my backup guy. He's just another one of Andy Dalton's really strong, powerful weapons, and I think he's going to benefit from Dalton's second-year confidence. Like I mentioned, he's already got that year under his belt, and he's got all this young talent around him. Well, why not utilize it and just get these targets to go up and become a reliable fantasy asset for you? I think his numbers will definitely continue to rise and really be a threat that even rely on even outside the red zone. I think he's got this speed ability that Dalton can exploit, and I think it will pay off dividends in the end. Now, I originally drafted Gresham to be my number 2 guy because I got Jimmy Graham early in the draft in the 2nd round, and Graham last year I drafted to be my number 2 tight end behind Kellen Winslow, if you can believe that. And then look how that panned out. Graham became a stud, and Winslow became a nobody. So it just goes to show how things like that can happen. But now Graham's my main guy. I drafted Gresham my number 2 guy with Dalton, but then I was offered a trade for Fred Davis from Washington, who I think is kind of in the same neighborhood level as Gresham. He's going to benefit greatly from Robert Griffin III. His weapons are just going to get better. So I accepted the trade because it gave a slight roster value to me personally. So if he's there, or even if Fred Davis is there, don't hesitate to draft these guys as backups, because I think they certainly have potential strong low number 1 upside on these. They're certainly rock solid number 2s, but if they get those targets from these young quarterbacks, major upside in Jermaine Gresham and Fred Davis for you. Finally, the last guy I like is, and again, some of you might see this guy as a long shot because he really hasn't shown much in the league, but he's now coming from a situation in Dallas where he was a backup to now becoming a starter, and that's Martellus Bennett of the Giants. SI has him as more of a tier 5 guy. I see him as more maybe the number 3 with upside because, we can see the stats. His yard production really has not been mind-boggling out of the box, by any stretch of the imagination. But the issue was, well, he was behind Jason Witten all those years in Dallas, and we knew that Witten was going to be the big tight end star. He was getting all these targets from Romo. When you're behind a stud, it's really tough to get production. Yeah, you may be talented, but you're not going to get a whole lot thrown your way if the number one guy is open all the time, or if people don't cover him well. If you do, then you're going to get the targets. But now Bennett's coming from that situation where he's a backup, where he didn't do a whole lot. Now he's coming to the Giants. And this is a powerful Giants offense. Hello, you got Eli Manning throwing you the ball. Granted, you've got the other wide receiving weapons around you, and Victor Cruz, who had a breakout year last year, and Hakeem Nicks. But still, I think he's going to get involved. Eli likes running to his tight ends. He's Kevin Boss. All these. Jake Ballard last year had a breakout year. Eli Manning likes his tight ends, as we have seen. It's kind of like Manning, his brother Peyton, who likes throwing to tight ends too, like a la Dallas Clark, all these guys. Jacob Tamme is now reunited with in Denver. He likes throwing to the tight ends. So I think Bennett's going to reap a lot of rewards from that. Um, the question is whether or not he'll get the targets in this core. But for now, I think solid number 3 option. But if his play does improve and if he gets those targets, he's a solid backup option. In my CBS league, we have this thing called a scout team. I don't know if you have it in the leagues that you guys play. We have something called scout teams. And usually on your scout team, you put guys that you think are like really deep sleepers, or guys kind of watch like out of the corner of your eye to kind of see what they're going to do. Maybe Martellus Bennett is someone that you put on your scout team if he's not drafted. If you don't go after him and you leave him out there, maybe he's a guy you put on your scout team to see whether is he really going to be that guy that Chris said he was going to be? Is he going to be that starter that maybe he's going to be a big target right away? Who knows? Maybe you can leave some examples of guys that maybe you scouted in the past, or guys you aren't going to scout this year to see what they're going to do. Let me know down below. Doesn't have to be a tight end necessarily, but leave me some comments below on guys you think you guys are going to scout for sure, and see how they're going to pan out for you. Maybe I'll share my thoughts on them as well. Deep sleepers at tight end. These are kind of longer shots, but guys that I think could pay dividends down the road. I like the tight ends in Baltimore. I like Dennis Pitta and Ed Dickson. They both came along kind of at different times last season. But I think, if Flacco likes to spread the ball around. He doesn't like to throw to one guy. He's got Bolden there. He's got these tight ends there. He's got now Torrey Smith, the wide receiver, who I think is a good number 3 option. So again, a lot of weapons there, but he likes to throw the ball around. Who knows how many targets I'm going to get, but for now, they're maybe kind of low number 2, number 3 plays. See how that pans out. Kobe Fleener in Indianapolis is another one. I mean, come on. The guy is reunited now with his college teammate, Andrew Luck. I mean, and the Colts are going to be, like I mentioned in my quarterback video, they're going to be down a lot, I think, in games. So if you need someone to throw to, Kobe Fleener is certainly another weapon with that option. So maybe Fleener, again, maybe another one you put on that scout team to see what he's going to do later on down the road. And again, Denver receivers are all held by Peyton Manning. Jacob Tamme in Denver is going to, I think, benefit from this. He knows Peyton. He knows, the system. He kind of knows the rapport they have with each other. Maybe, again, a number 2, number 3 guy for now, but see how that pans out. Or maybe another guy you scout if you don't want to take a chance on him right away. Guys that are on the downfall for me. And here we go again. I know if you guys have watched all my videos so far, I've always had one Atlanta guy on these downfall lists. But again, Tony Gonzalez, I mean, the guy, see all their Falcons listed, age, blah, blah, blah. The guy is past his prime. You cannot rely on this guy anymore to be your number 1. There's just too many weapons, too much uncertainty in Atlanta. You don't know what's going to go on. Young Bucks steal the targets, with Jones poised to have a breakout year, and Roddy White maybe near the red zone, but that's it. That's all he's getting nowadays. It's just red zone targets, and even then, you don't know how consistent that's going to be. So it's just more of a risk than anything. He's really a desperate backup at this point, and even then, maybe pressing your luck and screaming at the TV, "No whammies, no whammies!" You just don't want to miss out on that. Another example, Owen Daniels of Houston. The biggest issues with him of late is again his injury concerns. He just hasn't seemed. He's battled knee problems. He's battled hamstring issues. Of course, a lot of Houston receivers have dealt with hamstring issues. Just ask Andre Johnson. But the positive was for Owen, he only missed 1 game last year, and his game numbers have gone up. He went from playing I think 9 games in 2009 to 11 in 2010. They played 15 of 16 last year, which is good. He's He's showing that durability isn't really a big issue. And Joel Dreesen, he was shipped out via free agency, so he's no longer over his shoulder to follow him. So he's got to be the guy now. But that durability still kind of makes him a bit of a risky play. I think for now he starts out as more of a number 3 guy with that upside. But if he continues to get those targets, he might sneak in maybe a backup role for you. Or maybe again a guy you put on that scout team if he's not drafted, just to see where he pans out in the end. Other guys to avoid that I just don't seem really to like are guys like Dustin Keller. What's the Jets' offense going to be this season? We really don't know for sure what it's going to bring. Is Sanchez going to hold the starting job? Is Tebow going to take it over? Are they going to be running team, passing team? They've said ground and pound, but then they say this. We don't know. That's another big question mark. We don't know what the Jets' offense is going to look like. And Keller's is so unpredictable. He's another one of those hair pullers. You don't know. You don't know what you're going to get from the guy. So again, kind of temper expectations with him. I see him as more of a low number 3. Again, maybe a guy you want to scout to see how they're going to use him this season in that Jets offense. Heath Miller of Pittsburgh is another guy. He's kind of on the downswing. The receiving core now is getting kind of loaded there in Pittsburgh with Wallace if he doesn't last his holdout, with Brown, with these other guys. Certainly he'll be used in the red zone, but again, if he's not used for more than that, what chance do you want to take on him? So again, he's kind of on the downswing a bit. And again, some other guys that are really, really just, I don't know if you should touch. Anthony Pisano in Miami. Again, what has he done? And really, Miami has no big-time, big-play weapons at receiver. At least not from what I've seen over the years. You don't know who the quarterback's going to be yet. So Pisano's certainly risking that. And John Carlson in Minnesota, that was a big head-scratcher. Minnesota acquired him, especially because they want this guy that they drafted to be their tight end. I think Kyle something. I think they drafted this guy to be their main guy. Kyle Rudolph. Yeah, Kyle Rudolph. Second-year guy out of Notre Dame. So they want him to be their main guy. Well, then why would you bring in John Carlson from free agency? So that was kind of a head-scratcher. He's been hit with injuries lately, so I would just stay away from him altogether. I think Rudolph's going to be the main guy. All right, guys, that's it for the tight ends, and that's it for all 4 positions. If you watched all 4 videos in succession, you've seen all the guys that I like and don't like, kind of in a nutshell. I know it's a lot to squeeze into 15 minutes, but I just picked and choose a few. It's not my take on everybody. I wish I could post that all here, but I can't. If you guys have any comments or questions on tight ends or just players in general, hit me up below in the comment box. I'll try to answer as many as I can. I will try hard. So just kind of let me know what you guys think. Let me know about your hair pullers, your breakout players that you've had, guys you're going to scout, whatever you guys want to talk about concerning fantasy football to help your team succeed. I'm here now. I'm here on YouTube now. I think it's an easier outlet to provide help to people this way than the just the audio podcasts on Blog Talk Radio. I felt those really compressed my ability to help people out a bit. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll be back after week 1 of the regular season with my normal format, which will talk about guys, again, that I are buying high on to get off waivers potentially, and guys that I'm selling on, maybe that are taking a downfall in the season or have injury concerns, just kind of recapping the week-by-week basis. Again, thank you guys so much for being so patient through all the technical issues. I appreciate that. I appreciate the support that you guys have, and just let me know what you think, and good luck this season. It takes a lot of effort sometimes to win a fantasy championship, but in the end it does pay off, and it can be done if you play your cards right. It could all add up to a successful fantasy football season. Take care, God bless, and good luck on the field this year. Take care.